It's not about what you have. It's about who you have. It's not about where you live. It's about how you live. And it's not about what you do. It's about why you do it. Welcome to the Momentasize Podcast, episode 6. Today, I have got a guy on here. He's the owner of Remax here in Bend. That's a real estate brokerage group. He has 62 agents working under him. He's put together hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate deals. And today we get to pick his brain. Please welcome Ryan Buccola to the podcast.
Dirk, thanks for having me. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great spot you've got here.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Neither of you, us drink. Otherwise we'd probably guzzling wine down.
Right, yeah.
But
it's the sober guys in the wine cellar.
That's right, exactly. For people who are listening who don't know about you, give us just a quick little background.
Yeah. My name is Ryan Buccola, and I'm a father of two fantastic kids that are 17 and 20. I know I look better than I can't have kids that old. No, I'm just kidding. And I've been a licensed real estate broker since 1999. And I love being in and around real estate transactions. And I'm the son of a 45-year real estate broker, 50-year real estate broker. And this is where the magic happens. You know, this is, for me, my American dream. Like, I get to make my own schedule. I get to chase what I want to chase. And for the real estate's where it's at. Yeah. Like, it's tangible. I can walk it. I can smell it. I can paint it. And I can sell it.
Lick it.
All of it. You know, it's like, it's not stocks, you know, and the opportunities that it has afforded me, it has been really fantastic. And I will say, it's not all roses, right? Like, you know, this is a roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
It's a buckle up, giddy up roller coaster.
Yeah. Don't forget to buckle up for that one, because it's going to be a while.
It is. So. When I first got my real estate license, my grandfather, my mom's dad, who was a big multifamily builder and investor in Southern California. Like, he did a lot of units. And he just told me, he was like, buckle up. And I was like, yeah. What I got
You're like,
this.
Woo!
Like, I got this. Like, I got this, you know? And like, that was in 1999 or 2000. And then like, we had a super great run up, and then 2008 hit, and it was like, you know,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is what he's talking about, right? Like, you know, you just don't know what you don't know.
What'd you guys do when 08 hit?
We paddled real fast. Yeah. We gave some stuff back. We lost some stuff. Yeah. And but we kept in the game, you know. We had to go, as brokers, we had to go in and find all new clients. Yeah. The guys that had all the money at the time no longer had any money.
The network you were tapping into before, like, now was just
all the
dry. Guys
that we had worked so hard to build relationships with, do transactions with, create trust with. Yeah. It was gone. It was all gone. Yeah. You know, we were all looking at each other like, you know, who's selling long distance phone cards and like, you know, like video. I got a call from a home builder. It was like, I'm selling video conference phones now. You know, it was like right before the iPhone had like, you know, like, and I was like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
You know,
So
like,
he got hit twice. He got hit with his building and with that idea.
Yeah. You know, multi-level, like everybody was like, you know, doing but you know, everybody was doing whatever they could do to like survive.
What made you stay in the game? I mean, a lot of people left the game at that time. What made you stay in the real estate game, the brokerage game?
Yeah, I'm totally unemployable. I'm totally unemployable.
There you go. You had no choice.
Yeah, I had no choice. Well, I think the reality is like, we're only good at what we're good at, you know? And for those people that can retrain, like, good on them. Like, for the people that went back to like COCC or whatever, and like, you know, took that training in a new vocation, a new job. But I just, that wasn't my path. I'm a real estate guy. Yeah. And so I did some fly fishing.
Did you?
You know, I taught some people how to cast fly rods. I worked some retail. I did whatever I could do to feed the kids and my wife. And, you know, you just kind of keep moving, right? But if you look around the community, there's a bunch of people who survived that. Yeah. And they're all pretty much doing the same thing they were doing before, right? But it just takes a while to reposition, figure out how to work through, and then get back to work, you know, because we're all pretty much only good at a few things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one, that's true. And two, I commend you for sticking through it, right? Because I think a lot of people, when going gets tough, they'll fold up, they'll quit on themselves. They will go back, they'll hide in school, right? They'll hide in the next thing. But the problem with that is all that experience, all the challenge, all the struggle, all the pain, you've now given up on that. Those were all lessons and stepping stones towards what today, right? You could have given up in 08, 09, et cetera, but then you wouldn't have 62 agents working under you today, right?
Right.
So sticking in the game was a key component.
You only lose if you cash out when you're down, right? Like, you know, if you cash out when you're down and you just pivot and go and do something else, you don't give yourself the opportunity of the benefit of the run up.
Yeah.
You know?
What's it like having a brokerage of 62 agents now after being down, like you said, in 08, going through that, now growing it back up to 62 agents? What's that like?
It's fantastic and it's challenging. Yeah. You know, we have real estate brokers are inherently independent. Everybody's a 1099 independent contractor. Everybody is really running their own business. So we get to see the way we support is we're there for them. You know, our agents are their accountants, their marketing people, the drivers, they're all self-employed. They're all running their own businesses within our brokerage. Yeah. And all of the challenges and the victories and the defeats that come with that, you know, we're there for that. Yeah. So we work hard to be present, offer great marketing, offer great transaction support, offer really good deal transaction communication. Yeah. A lot of what I do is spitballing problem solving with brokers in our office, or we even see that in a very open door communication between agents in the office, which is really cool to watch. Yeah. You know, you'll have somebody who's like, I don't know what to do with this transaction. You know, I've got so-and-so wants to do this, the buyer's doing this and the seller's doing that. And somebody down the hall might go, oh yeah, hey, have you thought about doing this? Yeah. You know, or hey, I had something similar to that, you know? And so really that's what I love about my job. It's my job as an owner is to support people. Yeah. You know,
and you've created essentially a mastermind there for everybody, right? So you come in and it's not just being isolated under one. The problem isn't just one person's problem. They can tap into 62 other brains. It's a pretty great mastermind. And you got a badass setup. I know you guys just bought that building and remodeled. So
that building was cool. It was, it was an old auto parts store right in the heart of downtown Bend. Yeah. And it was tired. Yeah. And that whole corner, that whole kind of back, that kind of corner there of Greenwood and that northwest corner of downtown needed an anchor. You know, Silver Moon has done a really good job of developing their campus. Yeah. And for us to come in and anchor right next to him, I think solidifies that corner of downtown, especially with the Hawthorne Bridge that's coming in, you know, the footbridge that they're going to develop that crosses 97 there. It's a great spot. When I walked it, I was like, all I could see was glass. Yeah. You know, like, so I sat down with the architect and I was like, make it look like a Porsche dealership. Yeah.
And they did. Let's talk about that deal specifically. So when did you buy that? When did you buy that property? Yeah. What was the construction like? Let's break that deal down for people.
So we, okay. So you want to get personal?
Yeah.
Let's get personal.
Baby.
All right.
Yeah.
In August of 2020, I went to Betty Ford for 30 days to kick the sauce. Yeah. So COVID was rough and it was time for me to stop drinking. So when I got back from Betty Ford,
congrats, bro.
Thanks, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done. You know, it was the best thing I've ever done for me and my family and everybody around me. So we'd been looking for a building to buy. We wanted to be downtown. We were looking in the old mill. You know,
you had a vision. You knew what you wanted.
Yeah, we were in the old building on Franklin, and we knew we didn't want to stay there. Yeah. And I came home and there was a sign up with a sold sign on that building. And I was like, I missed it. You know? So I called.
You came home from getting sober.
Yeah. I came home from a 30-day stint at Betty Ford. I did 30 days at Betty Ford. And then I went to Mexico and I did a yoga and a vegan yoga meditation retreat for 2 weeks. So I was gone for about 6 weeks. And the meditation retreat was the whole thing was really fantastic. Lots of mindset shift. So anyways, I came back and there was a big 4x8 in the parking lot sign with the sold sign on
Just sold,
pending,
yeah,
and I was
done.
like, so I called the number on the sign and I was like, hey, I want to buy this building. Who's the buyer? I'll pay him an assignment fee. Let's, for those of you that don't know, an assignment fee, it's where you basically pay the party that's in contract a bump to go away.
Yep.
So a flip basically, right? So, and the broker was like, "Nah, we're solidly in contract, and these guys are going to close, but you should rent it." And I was like, "Hey, I'm in real estate. I'm not a renter.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to be, I've been on that side.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't need to own, I don't need to lease.
Now, you know what side of the desk you want to be
right.
on.
So, and which is different than a lot of real estate companies, right? Everybody leases their space. So we have a very good saying. Gene, who was here last couple episodes, is own the building, not the business.
That's right.
Right. So, so we played that game for almost 8 weeks.
What? Just continue to
I would call him. And
yeah.
I was like, hey, it's Bucola. Tell me that guy wants to, doesn't want to close, or he's like, you should rent. I'm not a rent.
It's a solid deal.
It was great.
Be a renter.
It was such a fun kind of banter. And he was in Florida. And so finally one day he called me back and said, that deal's not going to close. And I was like, how much and when?
Yeah.
And so we closed. We spent $2 million on the acquisition. And then we went to work on the design. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lesson in there for a lot of people, right? Like you saw it sold. Most people wouldn't even have picked up the phone to call because you already had a sold sign. It's pending. You're done. Most people would have been like, okay, it's done. I missed it. I can't make it happen. You called. You said, hey, I have a solution. Pay an assignment fee. He said, no.
Yeah.
And you kept going. He said, no.
Yeah.
Kept going. He said, no. 8 weeks later, finally, after you kept calling, you were top of mind. The deal actually does shift because it's meant to be for you guys. And boom, you're top of mind. You're ready to go. You move quick. So
I think you hit it on the head, right? Meant to be.
Yeah, meant to be.
That meant to be is like that intersection of hard work and luck.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
that's right.
So that was fun, and then we went to work on the design.
You bought it for $2 million.
Yeah.
You went to work on the design and you said, I like your vision. That's what I like about you so much. You're like walking around. You said, just make it look like a Porsche dealership.
Like I don't own a Porsche, but I know what the Porsche dealer looks like, and I'm like, this thing's gotta be state of the art.
Yeah.
There are, in my industry, in real estate brokerage, it's a race to the bottom.
That's the opposite of what you'd hear.
It's a race to the bottom. The barrier to entry is very low. Anybody can get a license.
Yep.
And the most of the brokers, the average earning of a real estate broker in America, and I don't have it exactly, but it's like $35,000.
Yeah.
Across
after all the expenses
across
and the
50 states. We live in a place that's expensive. People make, brokers make more money. But
what do you think on average? The average broker makes here in Central Oregon? 80?
Well, here's what I'd say. If you're not making $100,000, if you're not grossing $100,000 a year, you're in the wrong business. Yeah. You're in the wrong business.
Which would be, give us how much volume and sale that is.
It's like 3 or 4 transactions a year.
Yeah. I mean, you got to.
If you're not doing one a month, you're in the wrong gig.
Yeah. I agree.
You're not doing,
how long do you think that takes for the newbies who just got their license, who have the ingredients, the character, the formula, et cetera, but don't have the network yet? How long do they have to stick in the game before they can actually see that happen?
It's such a good question because it just has to do with what your contacts you have, and who you surround yourself with, right? So it's a year to 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a couple years. And some people will come straight out of the gate and be like, they'll make 150 their first year and they've just got the sauce.
Yeah, they got.
And some people flounder, and it's really interesting in Central Oregon. There's like 2,600 licensed real estate brokers.
Yeah.
And if you start running the report of like who did a transaction last year, it goes to like, 1,800, and like who did 5?
Yeah,
it
so
goes
1,200
down. Yeah, and like
exactly.
it goes to, really quickly. It goes down to like 100 people.
Yeah, there's 100 real players who are doing actual volume of transactions.
80% of the deals are coming from that, and so and those people are established. But like Gene said the other day, there's always room.
Yeah.
There's always room, and it's an infinite supply, right? So if you go out, all you got to do is put your head down and grind. Every day, somebody new is going to come into this business and create their own space. Yeah. Whether it's in brokerage, home building, development, if you want it, you're going to get it.
Yeah. There is a need, baby. There is a need.
And it's limitless.
Yeah.
It's limitless.
I agree.
And the reality is the shelf life of a broker in real estate today is about 8 years. Yeah. Which coincidentally is about the shelf life of home ownership.
Yeah.
So most people who buy their home in 7 years when they go to sell that house, most people's brokers are no longer in the business, which is fascinating.
And I would stack an additional stat on there. What's funny about that is it usually takes like 7 to 8 years, 8 to 9 years before you actually hit the exponential moment of success. So they gave up. The problem is they gave up right before they were going to see the real breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
And that ties back to what we said would happen in 08. But I want to finish this building. So you bought it for $2 million. It looks like it looks better than a Porsche dealership now.
We hired a fantastic contractor. We hired R&H and Gary North and his team did a great job for us. And it took us 13 months to get permits from the city of Bend on an existing use remodel.
Sounds about right.
It was long. Yeah. It was long and painful. Yeah, but once we hit the ground running, and we just a ton of glass. I think we had a $600,000 glass bill on the inside, you
made it look good.
Yeah. So it's just under 10,000 square feet. Yeah. I've got, I think, about 73 desks. Yeah. Got a small suite in the back that we lease out. That's about 800 square feet. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And really what it is, I wanted to create a market center in our region for this real estate brand. Yeah. I don't want to be a mill. Yeah. I don't want to have 250 brokers with 150 who don't do anything. Like I want to have 100 really strong, producing, drama-free brokers. Boom.
And I have no doubt that you're going to get it. There's a funny story. Like you buy the building, do the remodel, great company. You have finally get it done. You have the welcome party. There's like 400 or 500 people there. Tell us a little bit about
the sewer backed up.
In the middle of your welcome party.
Yeah. No, somebody came out of the bathroom and was like big eyes. And they were like, sewer's backed up. And I looked over and I looked around and there was like 500 people in there. And I was like, literally, oh shit.
Yeah, that's a real shit.
And luckily the plumber was at the grand opening, right? We invited the whole,
everybody.
And like that, he had a snake down the drain up into Greenwood. And there was the pipes crushed. Yeah. The pipes crushed from
during construction or something.
No, it's like an old, it's like some of it's clay, some of it's cast.
The old main line that you're tapping into because you're downtown.
Yes, that thing runs right through the middle of Highway 20.
Yeah. Well,
so we're all in and done. We've had it back up twice since then. We're now using like half ply TP.
Okay.
And, but just as soon as we were going to wait till they fire up the asphalt plant, and then we'll get it handled here at the end of March.
Yeah. So if you want to be a real estate developer, just know shit happens.
Shit happens.
It does.
Yeah. It's but that's just part of the game, right? It's just part of the game.
Yeah. It's exactly part of the game. And if those things didn't happen,
I mean, it reminds me of the video that you did where you thought the manhole was the sewer cap or the water, and you showed yourself running down the gravel road like this only cost me $50,000.
I missed 341 feet of sewer. So even though I had a checklist to follow and all, shit happens.
Happens.
We had that issue. You touched on it for a second, but touch on that journey of doing the sobriety. What was that like? And then what are the impacts been in your life?
Yeah. Great question. It's, it's hands down the best decision that I've ever made for myself and my family and my business, my life. It's really been impactful. I think very few people get sober or go to treatment because things are great.
Yeah.
Like my ass was on fire, and like things weren't great at home. I was, not present at work. I just wasn't living to my fullest potential. And so it was time for me to go and do that. And it's a slow journey. I've got a buddy named Hal, who's a sober guy that I know owns a bunch of real estate in Beverly Hills.
Nice.
He calls this thing slow briety.
Slow briety.
Right. Like, it takes time to like shift your mindset to recover from all of the, I was 44. I've been drinking since I was 21. Yeah. Right. And, not like a bottle in the drawer at work drunk or in the car drunk. Like I never got a DUI. I never, but it was just time. Like I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. And if you think about for how long you drink, it's no wonder it takes a while to like kind of let your brain recover, let your body recover, let your emotional state recover, and really dig in and ask yourself, why do I need coping mechanisms? What's below the drinking, right? Like what drives that? And so for me, what it uncovered is like kind of the most fantastic self version of myself. Like it allowed me to really dig in. Like I wanted to clear all that stuff out of the way. And I want to surround myself with people who are intentional about their growth, people who are intentional about being good humans, people who are intentional about being the best that they can be. And when you get to that mindset, like the booze just goes away. Yeah. Like for me, it's not, it's not about, my sobriety is no longer about me not drinking. It's about me making the best decisions that I can make for those around me and myself with integrity and love. And I screw it up all the time. Yeah. But I have the ability to own it now. I have the ability to own it. Before it was everybody else's fault but mine. And now it's like, okay.
You're taking extreme ownership.
Yeah. Ruthless self-honesty and, which is really hard, really hard. Yeah. So I have a really strong practice. I do a lot of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and I surround myself with people who just don't drink. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they get sober, they think that their friends are going to leave them and they're not going to, the thing about booze and drugs is like, you probably, if you're like me, had a lot of good times, had a lot of fun, and to say goodbye to that, like friend is up front is really hard. It's a crutch, right? You come to kind of depend on it. Yeah. And, I've met so many incredible, successful, producing, kind, rich, poor. I mean, I've just met so many fantastic people in recovery. I was just on a call earlier today where, these guys, I would never in a million years have met any of these guys if I wasn't sober. Yeah.
Well, my hat is tipped to you for doing that thing.
And I know I don't know what your journey is, but I know you don't drink, and I think if you're a person who wants to take a good, solid look at who you are and why you do the things you do, I don't think that you can do that while you depend on any kind of coping mechanism. I think that fearless inventory, that ruthless honesty about yourself, I think that process is so hard that I don't think you can't have the blocker in place.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, and like I said, I think I tip my hat for doing the challenging thing, the hard thing, right? The thing that doesn't feel good in the moment. Anyone I've had my own struggles with addiction.
Yeah.
And you can always go to the easy thing, right? You can always go and, like you said, when you're not having a good time, you're not having a good day, or you need even just as simple as need some stress relief, you can go do the easy thing, which is grab a drink. Or like you said, you can do the hard thing, stay disciplined, and make sure that all the actions all your habits and actions that you're doing on a daily basis align with who you actually want to become. And that's what it was for me. It was a wake-up call. I'm like, hey, I'm saying I want all these things. I'm saying I want all these, I want to be the best husband and father and dad. I'm saying that I have all these big goals and dreams, but I'm not actually aligning my actions with that, right?
Yeah, your words and your actions are divergent.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so then what am I doing? Am I lying to myself? Do I actually want these things and I'm not disciplined enough to do it? Yeah. And that was just a huge wake-up call for me. I'm like, I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, hey, you're saying all these things and you're not doing it. So then what's your problem?
Yeah.
Man? Like, seriously, then you'll never become who you say you want to become, right? If you're not going to align your actions. So my hat's tipped you for that. Thanks for sharing. It's a beautiful thing. And
my brain wants to do easy stuff. And I've been watching your social media about you guys getting ready to run the Eugene Marathon and getting up and running like 10 miles on a treadmill. And I'm like, oh man, like that is not the easy way out. I'm like laying in bed, like looking at Instagram,
Yeah, we don't like it too much either, but you have to do those things, right? It's like, I have an addictive personality, so I have to replace, like one thing with another. And so I just try to audit my behaviors and say like, hey, I know I need this. So like, alcohol or drugs, right? It meets a need for you. You know you're gonna get something out of it. You might get a different high each time, so it meets the uncertainty side. You know that you're gonna get connection to it or whatever, a shallow connection, right? And you just have to take those. So take that and replace it. For me, running was a huge positive way to tap into a need I have to push myself, or it's just these endorphins. I have this addictive personality, and running's a positive outlet versus drugs or alcohol are a negative one, right? So we just had to replace
and
them.
This business that we're in, it's a cooker.
Yeah.
It's a pressure cooker. Like we're out putting ourselves out there looking for opportunities. Yeah. We're usually working with borrowed money that isn't ours, where the meter is spinning fast. And the longer these projects take, the less we're going to make, the more expensive they are. Then we've got to figure out how to like hold them or sell them. Yeah. And it's no wonder people in our business have coping mechanisms,
because it's easy.
Problems, right? It's like, it's an easy fallback to be like, oh, I can't handle this. Like I gotta have a cocktail, or like I gotta, whatever it is.
Let me check out for a second.
Yeah. I gotta check out. And it's, it is, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere.
What makes a good deal? If you're looking at deals, we can kind of break it up into, because there's two components. Let's talk like single family. What makes a good single family deal? And then what makes a good development deal? We'll dive into what makes like a real good development deal.
Ones that pencil.
Yeah, ones that pencil.
Ones we can make money at.
Yeah. So let's talk specifically like what makes a deal pencil on land development, apartments. You've put together a lot of apartment deals. When you're looking at a piece of land, what's your thought process? What's your framework? What's your criteria? Mm-hmm. And then how are you checking off the list to make sure it pencils? Talk us through like you're talking to somebody who's never done a deal before.
Yeah. Well, the simpler, the better. Yeah. Right. Like I think that cocktail napkin deals, transactions are far and away the best indicator of how things are going to go. If things are too complex, if transactions are too complex and you don't understand them, they're not going to work. Yeah. Just hands down, like the smoke and mirrors and like all of those things
on the pro forma,
they are not going to, it's just not going to work. Yeah. So I think it's very important up front to have a keen awareness of like, you can't lie to yourself. You can't lie your way through. The numbers don't lie, right? So for me, my philosophy is I make my money on the buy. Yeah. I make my money on the buy, right? Yeah. So when I find a piece of dirt, I have to make sure that piece of dirt is really, really in line by the time we get to a finished state. Yeah. With the values in the ratios to the finished product. Yeah. So first and foremost, we have to have a really realistic idea about what things are worth in a raw state.
Yeah. And you're in it, but let's say you're in it, so you know it every day.
Yeah.
It's natural for you. But let's say somebody wanted to figure that out. How do they go figure out what the dirt's actually worth?
Well, I think that you've got to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at that. I'm not very smart. And so,
Neither am I.
So like I look around the room and say, oh, that guy might know more than me. But I think by utilizing our real estate professionals, our engineers, finding title has great access to comps.
Yep.
So we can find what other dirt has closed around. And I think also that from an engineering and infrastructure standpoint, what's it going to take to get that farmer's field or that infill home site, that infill lot to vertical? You know, how far away is the water? How far away is the sewer? What are the SDCs? What are those things? Having a really, really clean idea about your big budget items. Yeah. Also, what's it cost to hold? Yeah. People forget about that, right?
That one kills a lot of people.
And like with the city of Bend, we got a big shift coming with costs and SDCs and fees and permit fees. It's becoming really challenging to make things pencil. Yep. You know,
all those soft costs can really surprise people.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say in my experience, you got to begin with the end in mind, right? Because you got this raw piece of dirt and you're trying to put on this lens of opportunity and say, hey, what can I actually build on this piece of dirt, right? Like what can we actually create and bring to life on this piece of dirt? And to get your numbers quickly, I'm always like, okay, begin with the end in mind. So if I can get 50 units on here, right, then I need some sort of benchmark principle, some sort of quick calculation to say, hey, what is this land worth? And I always say, okay, if I know I can max this out at 50 units, then we use what we call the 10% rule on a per unit basis, right? Or I would want to pay if I can max them out for 50 units, I would actually figure out first what those 50 units are worth. Like you said, use sales comps, et cetera. If I know each one of those units are going to be worth $250,000, that's when I would use the 10% rule, right? To back into what I can actually pay for the land. And so I think that circles back to like, how do you know that? Well, it goes back to what you said. Surround yourself with the right people and the right mentors and the people who are in the game every day transacting on that dirt. Yeah. And you'll start to learn it, right? It's like the only way that you can gain that knowledge and sharpen that saw is to just continuously look and analyze the deals right over and over again. And so and
I think look for mentors. Yeah. You know, like, I think the reality is investors think they're going to hit every transaction out of the park. Yeah. And it's just not true.
Doesn't work.
You know, kind of like for every 2 or 3 that you do well, you're going to get clobbered on one. Right. And you just hope you don't get clobbered on the first one. Yeah. And so I think that's a really, really important part of this business is sometimes the best deals that we do are the deals that we don't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. A great sin. Yeah.
You know, I think that you can have all the right things come together and then you can have an event like an interest rate increase from 3 to 7. Yeah. Right. Like, you know, it's the Wild West. You know, this is a Wild West deal.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to stress test those things, right? It's like what Ryan was just talking about there. A lot of people, when that happened, right? When interest rates went from 3 to 6 or 7%, people are like, oh, so what? If you look at the historical average, you know, interest rates have been at 18%, or interest rates have been, you know, like on average, it's always at 7%. It's not that big of a deal. Well, it is, because a jump from 3% to 6% is 100% increase in cost of capital. That means that what you thought you were going to get debt for is now 100% more expensive, which means that whatever you had on your Excel format is busted, right? Unless you stress tested the crap out of that.
Right. And that's where opportunity happens. Yeah. Right. So as investors, you know, so it's like we talked about, you know, if you cash in when you're down, you never get it back. Yeah. Right. So, you know, today let's say that rates to borrow construction money they're not even 7. They're probably more like 10. Yeah. You know, if you're going to go get some money.
We just got one quote for 9. I got a 9% hard term quote.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, you know, I'd rather know what I have today at 9% than be at 3% and be like, ooh, I'm in this project. Sweet. It looks great. And then all of a sudden the thing goes to 7 and you're like, oh, you know, and then some guy calls you up and is like, Hey, I'll give you half.
Yeah. Which is what
I'll give you half.
we're starting to see. We are starting to see just the beginnings of that, come to life, where there were people who didn't stress test it the way that they wanted, that they should have. And now they're having that issue. The project took longer than they thought it was going to take.
Yep.
And now they're running into a jam. Either it's cash in refinance, capital calls are drying out, timelines are drying out, rents aren't where they thought they were going to be. So we're starting to see potential opportunity come there. I want to touch on specifically this market environment with high interest rates, with, people, it feels like everyone's sort of been like holding back. You got the media definitely pushing fear mongering. What's your take on the market right now and where it's headed into 2024?
Yeah. First, I want to talk just a little bit about this squeeze that we've just kind of are in. We're kind of seeing the construction wrap up on the projects that are, the squeeze is happening.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not going to be long.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, it's going to feel painful. The media is going to drag it out. The media is always 60 to 90 days behind exactly what's happening. Yeah. And, so the projects today that are distressed, though it doesn't look like '08, they're going to get absorbed quick.
Yeah.
Lenders are going to be quick to be like, we got to cut a deal and move. Yeah. And then we're going to be back into a regular market. Yeah. So I just want to kind of address anybody who's out there like circling, thinking, act swift and swing the big axe.
Yeah. And do you think it's going to take down, like where the problem is, do you think it's going to take down economies, et cetera?
No, I think it's going to get absorbed into the marketplace. Yeah. I think that nobody wants to go through a recession. Nobody wants to go through a foreclosure crisis like we did. I think the banks that have, if we keep it straight to, let's talk about regional multifamily, the stuff that you and I are kind of in, that 20 to 100 unit buildings that they're not massive. They're middle of the market. They're fund type, acquisitions. I think those people are I've got a call today where we're talking to private money. We got a buyer. We got a couple of projects. See they're going to get absorbed. The stuff like the office, like the Google towers in San Francisco and that stuff, that's going to be a completely different animal.
Yeah, the people who own those too, remember, that's not your everyday mom and pop. That's institutional. Yeah,
nobody even
investors.
owns those things.
Yeah, those are huge institutional investors who own those buildings. So those are going to get. I think what's going to happen with those is, the office prices are going to be cut in half, right? That's going to actually allow for people who have now moved out on a remote basis. They're going to say, hey, I can now get this whole space. We're getting lease concessions, which is great. We haven't had. And by the way, at the same time, and you're already seeing it happen, these big corporations who are remote work,
they're coming back.
No. Yeah. Your productivity's low. You're already seeing it happen. I've had a couple friends who unfortunately have this problem, but now it's like an ultimatum. Hey, you're either going to come back to headquarters because we're going to get cheaper lease space, or you're going to take a pay cut, or you're going to be released. Yeah. And that's going to be what's going to happen. More and more of that's going to happen. So office, it'll retrade. It's not going to kill from an economy side. No. The institutional investors are going to get hit hard on that. Yeah. Okay. But that is at a level that most people will never see.
And they don't trade at that
level.
Yeah,
exactly. It's just a crazy thing. And then you're going to, on the apartment syndications, if you're like a limited partner in those, you're going to get squeezed because like if you have capital calls, let's say you put $100,000 into a syndication and now you have all these capital calls coming in. Yeah, those people are going to get squeezed, but is that going to, on the deals that are going south, they're going to get squeezed, but is that going to kill the economy? No, I mean, they're going to lose their equity. It's really unfortunate, but it'll rebuild, it'll retrade on cents on the dollar. And
those are just markets, right? That's what it is. Like nobody's guaranteed a victory in any of this stuff.
No, it's a risky game. I mean, it is, you're investing, right?
So that's why everybody drinks.
Yeah. That's why everybody drinks. So.
All right, so let's see. What were we talking about before we got sidetracked on that?
We're going on the market. You're giving your opinion. I was giving mine. Yeah. Like, is it going to kill the economy or not? And and how long is it going to last? Right. What you're saying is, and I agree with you. This squeeze is going to be a short squeeze. And then as you head into 2025, it's going to be all back to normal.
And I think that's, specifically in multifamily, right? I think that's
Yeah. What about single family transactions? What are you seeing there?
We're up double in January from January 2023 to 2024.
Okay.
General census overall feeling is that we've kind of seen the worst of what that looks like from a doom and gloom standpoint.
Yeah.
Especially here specifically in Central Oregon. Yeah. Buyers are out. Inventory is still low. Yeah. We're not seeing prices come off.
Yeah.
We're seeing some correction, but not significant.
Yeah.
There's not going to be enough inventory to come on to really affect prices. Yeah. And I think that we've got a little bit of a dance between buyers and sellers. There was I feel like some priced in anticipation of rates coming down.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that they're going to come off. They're talking into the high 5s, low 6s by fourth quarter on the 30-year. But jobs are strong, inflation's steady. I just don't see any and I'm not an economist.
Yeah.
But I just
come on, this is from the streets, baby.
But the street economist. We should start a podcast.
Yeah, okay. The street
economist. But I think that we've got what we got for this buying. It's the spring selling season is here and it's busy.
Yeah,
it's busy.
So on the inventory component, like do you think so? Just so to rephrase what Ryan's saying, he's got a lot of good data. He's saying that in January of 2023. Compared to January 2023 to January 2024, sales have you said doubled? Or
we pended 20 transactions in January of 2023. Yeah. We pended 40 transactions in January of 2024.
So do you think that's people have now become more realistic in regards to what a house needs to sell for? What do you think's now starting to get a pickup again?
I think we've seen the interest rate conversation settle. Yeah. People have decided, right? Like we saw
the unknown has settled out.
Was it May of 23? We saw, it was basically Mother's Day weekend. We saw rates started to move and they didn't stop. They went all the way up to, 7. And then the buyers were, basically saying the affordability went out the window. You could buy $1 million house on a 3% interest rate for $3,000 a month. Well, now it's like $6,000 a month plus taxes and insurance, double, right? So the affordability is out the window.
It's gone.
And I think that buyers were feeling that sting. Sellers, they're sitting tight at 3%.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's tightening inventory, right? So everybody that is like wondering what Ryan's saying there, he's saying a lot of people have these 2, 3, 4% mortgages on their house. So why would they go and sell when they'd have to retrade it again, 100% increase in capital? So let's say you have a house right now, it's worth $600,000, but you only have 3% interest on it. Well, your payment's probably $2,500 or so, right? Maybe like right in that range. If you were to go and buy a $600,000 house today, you might be at $5,000 for that same mortgage. Right. So they're just holding tight, right? They're holding tight, which for guys like me who build product is actually a good thing. It tightens inventory. Yes. So the supply demand game still hasn't normalized when you look at just like absorption rate across what's out there from an inventory side. Typically a normal market on average is 6 months. Yep. And we're still like, it's not flying off the shelf in 2 days like it used to.
We're like 3 weeks.
Exactly. Depending on what market, you're 3 weeks to a month in Bend. And then where I build, which is in some secondary markets, I have to list it now. Maybe I have to sit on it for 2 months, 3 months. That's a normal market. Yeah. Like I don't mind normalization, to be honest. I actually think it's very healthy. So
I agree. Yeah. And it's just the market. It's the way the marketplace moves, it's a supply and demand. And then the reality is until we see some real pain in the economy, we're not going to get any relief in rates. And it's time for us to shift the conversation from high interest rates to inflationary prices. Yeah. We're an inflated, I bought my house around the corner in October of 17 for $625,000. Yeah. And, it's worth $1 million too. Yeah. It's doubled in, 6 years. So
we like that.
What I'm saying is like, that's what's driven that pricing. Yeah. And so it's, that being said, we live in a really desirable place. Yeah. People want to come to Central Oregon. My sister, Kelly Solberg, owns an office in Los Gatos, California in the Bay Area. And she did an open house this weekend. She had 65 groups on Saturday and 65 groups on Sunday and had 4 offers.
Wow. See, it's,
and those people are coming here.
Yeah, they're coming. What do you say to somebody who is trying to time the market? That are like, they're sitting on the sidelines.
What do we need to watch? Like, what are we doing? Timing the market? I don't know. We're going to catch the falling knife. I think, listen, you just gotta get in. You got to have a chip in the game. And the guy who has the most chips, and so also we can play this game of cost averaging, right? So if we make some smart deals when things are affordable and we buy some stuff, maybe when it's up, in the end, the portfolio averages itself out, and we just have to find the opportunities.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And if you've been having a tough time, like you're out there looking, you're waiting to get in the game, I actually believe part of that sword squeeze that you talked about, I actually believe that like now is a great time to push to get into the game, because I think in 2024, you're going to see some pain that's occurring. But as soon as those interest rates actually do come back down,
prices are going to go up.
They are going to go back up, and they're going to go back up hard. And the cost to get them, because the cost to get them goes down, the competition goes up, right? And so if you're willing to, like you said, you make your money on the buy, well, part of that buy criteria is how much competition do you have against this product, right? So if you believe that interest rates are going to come down a little bit, then buying right now, if you believe that, I'm not telling you what to believe, right? I'm not going to tell you what to believe. But if you could logically say, look at the Fed dot plot, that's a pretty simple place to go and look, but that interest rates are going to go down in 2025. If you believe that, yes or no, if you say yes to yourself, then right now is a pretty damn good time to get into something, because the way it works is once those interest rates go down, the prices go up.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just something to think about. Like, don't be scared. And you know what? One thing I'll say is, when I bought my first house, the people around me, smart people I love, right? They're like, don't buy right now. It's the height of the market. Don't buy right now. It's the height of the market.
Everybody's an expert,
It's
right?
the peak. It's the peak. You can't buy right now. You can't buy right now. $350 for that, right? In Midtown Bend, $350 for that. It's the peak. You can't buy, right? But I went with my gut. I had some pressure of having a kid. We did it anyways. And today that same house is worth $600,000, right? And so it's just, you have to go with your gut. You have to, if you want to get in the game, like you said, put your chips in and let's see how it unfolds.
One of my favorite places in the world is the Teton Valley in Idaho, on the Wyoming-Idaho border. And 3 times I've been in contract on 3 houses, and I've pulled the plug. And if I would have just closed on those houses,
why'd you pull the plug, bro?
I got cold feet.
It
was like, oh man, what if I lose my? What if the market tanks? My income is directly connected to the marketplace, right? So
of course.
if the market goes up,
you're commission based, baby.
Like I'm live and die by the blade. And so, I was there in 4th of July, 2017, and I was in contract on this sweet little house backed up to a creek, had a foundation poured for a garage that had plans for an ADU. The house was built. It was like, $425, or I'm sure that house is worth like 2.5 now, so, gosh, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Putting the chips into the game is what changed my freaking life. I am telling you, when it was at the height, putting all the chips I had into the game is what changed my life forever. It's not easy, but it's the best vehicle for your everyday person to build wealth.
And this is the Gene Bucola conversation, right? Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Where else can you go and leverage somebody else's money? And, and when things are appreciating, it's really great. When things are depreciating, it's really hard. Yeah. But
like you said, just don't sell.
You just got to ride.
Just ride it out. And be conservative, be smart. Like, can you actually ride out that payment?
Yeah.
But guess what? Also, what I'll tell you guys is, let's say you're put into a challenging situation. You know how resilient people are once they're put into a challenging situation, things that they didn't even know or think they could get through. Yeah. In hindsight, they always get through. So let's say you had a high payment and now you lost your job and you're so worried, you're so scared. I guarantee you, if you're creative and strong, you will get through it. You'll find some way to make the payment, whatever it takes, and you'll get through it.
And it's the call to action of how do we show up in our best self, right? And if we show up in our best self, with integrity, with honesty, with love, it's going to go the way it goes.
It's going to go the way
It's going to go the way it goes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not going to go your way.
Yeah.
Like it just isn't.
Yeah.
But
it's meant to be.
More times than not, it will.
Yeah. And when it's meant to be, right? It's like that circling back to your now beautiful building, which is worth a lot more, right? That was meant to be for you guys. So that's how it landed. And that's, I agree with you. Like, I don't want to go out here and everyone's like, oh, Dirk said to buy now. No, it's situation by situation. But I think right now is a good opportunity, and when everyone was fearful, we continue to push through and continued on projects because I want to zig when others zag. And I look at, one thing I look at is like, what are the real smart guys doing? So like, when Warren Buffett makes a play and
they're drinking Coca-Cola, driving Chryslers,
that's what they're doing. When Warren Buffett puts $800 million into 3 national home builders, when everyone else is saying the home building's done and everything's ruined and everyone's slowing down their projects, what does he see that others don't see? Opportunity in the horizon, right? Yeah. And so we work through that, and the concept plan, the idea is you zig when others zag, so that when everyone's ready to zig again, you got some product ready.
The hardest thing to do is swim against the tide.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so like when the house is on fire and everybody's leaving, or when the rats are, when the ship is sinking and all the rats are leaving the ship, right? Yeah. You can visualize that, right? That's when you want to get in. Yeah.
I missed that one on the last Bitcoin crash.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Right.
It was back down to 20 in the low 20s, and everyone's just sitting there now. It just hit its all-time high again. That's a funny one too. Like, I've played in the stocks up and down, and lost some money, made some money. But it goes back to what you're saying, real estate. What I like about that versus any stocks or Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is you can see, feel, touch, control real estate, right? Yeah. So you can actually influence that. With the other stuff, you can make a good investment. If you have a long-term play, it's all good. And will crypto change the way that we transact? I probably think so. It's probably like a lot of when the internet came about, right? We don't even know what uses it's going to be. Yeah. But you can't control it. Let's put it that way.
It's just going to be what it's going to be.
It's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah. So we'll see how that all.
What I think is really fantastic about 2024 is I have a 17-year-old son. Yeah. His name's Jack Bucola. And in Jack Bucola's pocket, and my daughter Cecilia, she's 20. In their pockets, they possess an iPhone. Mm. And an iPhone pretty much has all of the answers to whatever questions you have. Mm. And what I tell these kids is they just have to know what is the question, right? What's the question? Mm. That's the hard part. Mm. How do I go out into the world and find my purpose? How do I go out and find these transactions? I'm like, hey, it's Saturday. Mm. Why don't you go drive through Midtown and find 10 houses that need a complete paint job, where the lawn needs to be mowed, where the driveway needs to be shoveled, and go knock on the door. Yeah. Just go knock on the door. You don't have to have a real estate license. You don't have to have money. Yeah. All you have to do is create a relationship and then figure out what's next.
Yeah. And probabilities are you might get 10 no's, right? You might go knock on 10 doors, get 10 no's, but you'll sharpen your saw. Yeah. You gain experience. Yeah. And your dad said this. He's like, I love the no's, because every no is a step towards the yes. You might have to go knock on 100 doors and get 99 no's. Yeah. As long as you keep knocking, there will be one yes. It will come your way as long as you don't stop.
And it'll probably pay big.
And it will change your life. Yeah. Exactly. So that's the thing. You got to just keep that fuel in your fire, right? Like, it's hard. And that's hard. Like, when the wind's blowing, you build this fire up, you got this energy. When the wind's blowing, trying to put your fire out, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard because you got all this stuff working against you. Like you said, swimming against the tide. You got all this stuff working against you, but you have to be able to like fight through that and begin with the end in mind, have enough of a reason why you want that, so you don't quit, right? I mean, it's so simple. It's so fun. I feel like on these podcasts, I just repeat myself over and over and over. And I'm like, pretty much the formula is keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Don't quit. Yeah. And eventually it's going to happen in an exponential moment.
I think the biggest struggle that people have, right, is like, how am I going to find the money? Yeah. How am I going to find the money? Yeah. Right? Like fear of financing.
I had that problem.
Right? Fear of financing. Like if I'm if I'm sitting in a new construction community and I've got people walking in the door, like the first objection is fear of financing, right? Second might be, the backyard's too small, whatever, right? They're all the same objections, but fear of financing. But from an investment development side of things, if you can put yourself in a position where you're in a project where it pencils, the money's going to show up, right? The money's going to show up. Somebody's going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm in.
Exactly.
Right? Like and so it's like what you're talking about. You just got to mine the right. If you find the right project, the rest of it'll happen. Yeah.
And that fear, by the way, to anyone that has it, it's natural. I had that fear, and I know a lot of people with a lot of money, right? Yeah. So like it's a natural thing to fear. But guess what? Fear doesn't get you shit. If you have a wall of fear, you should literally gear up and sprint head first to run right through that thing, because the only thing to fear in life is fear itself, because fear is what's holding you back from everything that you fucking want, dude. Yeah. Everything you want, right? All that stuff that's coming into your mind, the wall of fear is the problem. So run right fucking through it, and everything.
And the reality is that the fear is fake. There's nothing there that's like, you run at the wall. Oh, they're not going to love me. Oh, I'm not going to, like whatever it is. It's all fake. Yeah. It's all fake. And so,
it's Faguzzi Fugazi. Fear's Faguzzi Fugazi.
Dude, right? Forget about it. Forget about it.
That's right.
Yeah. No, the lessons that I continue to learn in this thing are fantastic, and they apply to real estate. They apply to my personal life as a father, as a partner, as whatever. I mean, the basic principles that we live by are what create our success. Yeah. Or our downfall. Yeah. I've been on both sides of it. Like, I've been on both sides of it. It's not all rosy.
No, but you're still in it. So we touched on your story where you've been in the game forever. You love the game. We touched on all the challenges you've had. You've built everything back up to now having RE/MAX, an amazing office, 62 agents. You've put together hundreds of millions of dollars of deals. What is next for Ryan Buccola?
Oh, that's a good question. What's next for me? What's next for me? Okay, so here's my next project right now. I'm actually in the process of opening a sober living company. And what we do is we work with men from ages 18 to 28. We house them post-treatment, a minimum of 30 days. And average stay is kind of 4 months to a year. And we get them out of treatment. We integrate them back into society. They're not quite ready to go home, go back to the yard with all the dudes and all the, whatever might be waiting for them. And my goal is to have 100 beds in 5 years in marketplaces where we want to own real estate. So these are single family properties. I want to have 2 open in Bend by the end of the year. I'd like to go to Jackson Hole. I'd like to go to Boise. I'd like to go to Bozeman, and maybe Salt Lake City.
Baby, I love it. See, that's taken a skill that you've built, a passion that you have that's changed your life, getting sober that's changed your life, and intersecting the two, right? That's where the magic happens, when you can intersect passion and real estate together.
And for me, that's exactly what it is. I get the opportunity to give back and help. I get to save people. Not save people, but I get to be supportive and available. And that's part of what keeps me sober is being able to help other men and stay sober. And then, and then I get to bring my real estate experience, in that. So that's a project that I'm working on currently. Getting ready to open the first house here, middle of April. But for me, RE/MAX is a fantastic project for me. And I have a great family there. Yeah. My people, the people that I work with there, I have so much gratitude for. I have so much gratitude, very little drama. Yeah. And those brokers have an average of about 16 years in the business. Yeah. So I have a high level of functioning.
They've made it past.
They've got books. As the market fluctuates, they just keep calling their people, and their people keep referring them to their people. Yeah. And so that is in my forefront. And I just want to be like Gene, I want to be in the game.
Yeah.
I love being in the game, you know, and that's what I've got.
Well, I have no doubt that you're going to make that vision happen. The one you told me before the podcast, growing Remax to that kind of killer 100 agent game. I have no doubt you're going to make that happen. And I also have no doubt that you're going to make this other venture that's both around real estate and around a passion of helping people, supporting people who are getting sober. So I think it's a great move, and I can't wait to watch that.
Thanks, man.
What is, and you're going to do it. I guess.
It's coming.
In a year from now, we're going to be talking about how to go from 100 doors to 1,000. Right. So that'll be, what's a book that influenced you that you could help give the people?
So you know what, I'm reading a book right now that's an old book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Boom. Yeah. We've had that one a couple times now.
And it's a good book. I belong to a Vistage group, which is a CEO group that we're reading that book. You know, the other book that's on my bedside table that I haven't cracked yet, but I'm ready to is Leadership and Self-Deception.
Okay.
And
I haven't heard of that one.
It's like, you know, I think the basis of it is like, you got to get real with yourself when you're dealing with people. Yeah. Right. Like you got to get real and you got to be honest and not be delusional. Yeah. I'm a sales guy. I'm delusional half the time. Yeah. You know, and so that's a book that I'm looking forward to reading. But that Carnegie book is those principles never change. Yeah. Right. They're kind of like the principles of the real estate market. If you're priced right, it's going to sell. That's right. If you build it for less than what you can sell it for, you'll make money. Yeah. You know, so that's what I'm kicking around right now.
Good. Yeah. We've had that one on a couple guests. So if you haven't read it, the point is read it.
Yeah. No. And there's another Carnegie book that I've got queued up too. And so, you know, what I think is cool is those, you know, that stuff's from like the 20s and 30s. Yeah. It's 100 years old.
Those are good school.
It's 100 years old.
Yeah. Big time good school of thought leader there. And
what are you reading?
I'm reading, I'm a slow reader. So I do a lot of listening, we've been doing a lot of listening. Book that influenced me and continues to influence me over and over and over is a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah. That's what
it's a good one.
I've listened to that book, listened and read that book 3 to 4 times, each time like going back through it and changing around. So anyone like Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, all these characters who, Stephen Covey, if you want a growth, if you're trying to like break into that growth mindset, which is what I think it takes to be successful in life, I love it. Those are the guys. So, yeah.
There's I'm also just finished reading a book called From the Core by a guy named John Wineland, and John Wineland is a men's trainer out of Southern California, and he leads men's groups all over the world. And powerful self-honesty, deep dive, how to show up in your best self. Not a real estate book, but definitely a good spot for men who have questions about purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll link to both of those books in the notes. For people who want to connect with my man, Ryan Bucola, how can they find you? How can people connect with you?
I'm not hiding. I'm on the internet. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, remaxkeyproperties.com and Ryan Bucola at Ryan Bucola on Instagram. Yeah. Ryan Bucola on Facebook, and reach out. I'd love to have a conversation.
Yeah, give him a follow, and I'm sure we're going to be able to get you on a year from now. See how it all unfolds. Do it. Thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate the relationship that we have together, and I look forward to continue to build it.
Likewise. Thanks, Dirk. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you on the next one, baby.